Hi Capricorn. Welcome to your May reading. It is the middle of the night and we are talking about all the feels. So for you, May is all about feeling your feels, and for the past couple of weeks you may have felt very mushy, like you can feel everything. And it hasn't made you uncomfortable. Actually, it's been a welcome change. I think you've been working so hard for so long now that you may have forgotten that you actually have feelings. You know, those kind of feelings. But something has sparked your interest again. It may be the dissolution of a current relationship. You're realizing that someone just isn't what you thought they were, and that's okay. Instead of being upset, you're kind of like, yeah, I figured. And even though you may want to say something, you may be holding back for the peace of the household or the peace of the family or the peace of somebody else's family. You really want to say something, but you won't, because there is something much more important than the feels. As everything moves into Gemini, you have this overwhelming feeling like, yes, work is finally beginning to go the way I want. I see my path, I'm on it, I'm in the chariot, I'm zooming, I'm going, and it keeps going like that for basically all of May until around, well, right after Saturn retrograde on the 23rd, you start to feel this slowdown. You start to feel maybe money gets a little bit slower, but then on the 26th, you have the eclipse come in. Once the eclipse comes in, you have this epiphany moment where you realize where your feelings have been stuck, perhaps for a long time. This could be you're feeling stuck about your childhood, about your family. It could be you not being able to move on from a previous relationship. Wherever it is that you're emotionally stuck, at the eclipse, you feel it and you're able to finally let go and move on. And when you do finally let go, as is often the case, the Ace of Cups comes in and sweeps you off your feet. This is something that will probably happen in a work setting or where you're just going about your day doing what you do, and suddenly this unexpected love is blooming. It's only unexpected for you because until the eclipse, I don't think you really know where your feelings are tied up. And then you just have this moment where you're like, oh, that's what I'm holding on to. That's what I'm comparing everything to. Got it. And as soon as you let go of it, what's been right in front of your face, probably for a while, becomes clear to you. It's like it suddenly appears in front of you, even though it's been there the whole time. And you're able to take advantage of it. Now, along with work going really well, as it has been for a while, and then it gets better mid-May, when you have this retrograde starting on the 23rd, along with having all these feels and having these, epiphanies here and there between the 23rd and the 27th, you also have this strange mix of nostalgia, regret, sorrow, perhaps emotional exhaustion, and this excitement of wanting to move forward, wanting to do something different, wanting to move on. So it's emotionally a very heavy month for you. And you're not the one who generally wants to wallow in emotion, so it can be a little bit disconcerting. You may feel a little bit tangled up. You may feel like, why is all this old stuff coming up? Why am I dealing with it now? Why is this happening again? Why are we having these conversations again? It's only because you know now, by the end of May, we're talking, exactly where the blocks are. You know what you have to do to get away from them. You know what needs to happen for anyone to be able to come into your life and make you happy. You have all the knowledge, and work is getting busy. You're starting to really feel like the things that you've been putting your effort into, they're starting to work out. That's not going to show up. It's not going to reflect in the actual financial gain yet because of the Saturn retrograde. So it's it may feel a lot like taking 20 steps forward, taking 10 back, then taking 20 steps forward, taking 10 back. But each time you're gaining 10 steps. So let yourself ebb and flow with this. Ironically, it's very watery. Even though we're in an earth season, we're going into an air season. The way this is affecting you is very watery. It's the kind of feeling that after a while you get lulled into this place where you don't realize how exhausted you're getting. You don't realize how hard you're working because you have this emotional Red Bull, right? You have this emotional energy flowing through you. So you're able to overcome your exhaustion. You're able to overcome the tired and keep working and keep working. On the 26th at the eclipse, you hit a wall and you just can't go anymore. That's when it's time to really slow down, do what you have to creatively. But in every other aspect of life, you need to start being able to say, this is too much. This isn't my job. Now you're asking too much. Or if it's in an emotional setting with family, with friends, this is when you say, I get what you're going through, but I need a little bit of time because I have stuff of my own that I have to do, and you're just not leaving any room for me. So there's a lot of people who aren't going to take that well. There's a lot of people who are used to you putting your stuff aside and saying, okay, I have all this to do and I'm going to get it done anyway. I'm going to do it at my expense. But the time that I should be doing that, I'm going to give to you. And now you're like, no, the time I have is for me and I'm going to keep doing me. And I'm sorry, but I can't help you with this. That's not something that anyone likes to hear from you, especially because for most of the month you've been in your feels. So it's been easy to get you to do stuff. It's been easy to wrangle you into BS conversations. It's been easy to here and there get you to do stuff that they want you to do by emotionally manipulating you. After the eclipse, even though you're tired, you have this major change. It starts brewing around the 17th where you just don't need to do things as much for people. You don't feel the need to be the one who's magnanimous. You don't need to be the one coming through and being the fixer all the time. And I don't really know how people are going to react to you in your specific situation, but I can pretty much guess that they're going to guilt trip you because that's what people do to you when you don't come through. And unfortunately, because you are one of the rare people who do come through, when they lose you, when they lose your attention, your effort, and this is not out of some sort of villainous behavior, you're not resenting them, you're not angry with them, they're going to take it that way. But when you start doing that, they feel like they've lost the only person that comes through for them. That's going to have two effects. That's going to make them value you more, and it's going to make them regretful. But the final effect that it has on you is that they just seem clingy. And you're like, I don't get it. Like all this time I've been doing so much and it was taken for granted, or it was taken as if nothing was happening at all. It wasn't even acknowledged. But now that I've started to focus more and more on me, now that I'm saying the things that are good for me, now that I'm not tolerating the things that are bad for me, now it seems like I was the greatest person in the world and the thing that you couldn't lose, and now you can't wait to have me back. Don't get pulled into the sob story they tell you when you tell them the truth about them. Because it's been a while since you've let that cat out of the bag. I think you've been trying really hard to be nice, focus on yourself. Don't be that person. Let someone else tell them the truth. But when they start coming for you, for choosing you over them, you're going to have these moments where you just need to read someone and be like, no, you don't need me. What you need is bam, 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 bam. When you do that, you're going to start to see things separate. you're going to see people separate into these two categories. One group loves you for it. They're proud of you. They're supporting you. They've always told you that you need more time for yourself. And the other group just sees you as a traitor. You are letting them down. You are not being reliable. And this is all, even me saying it is triggering to you, but it's not true. That's what you have to remember. It's not true. None of it is true. They're just doing what they've always done and what's always worked. Except it doesn't work. And now they're kind of lost. Like, what do I do? Like, I need you. That triggers you so much, the I need you, but I want you to remember something. That's how you got into this mess in the first place. When you figure out at the lunar eclipse that you've been feeling stuck, you're going to realize that a lot of the places where you got stuck is when people told you they needed you, when really it was people who just didn't want to do the work themselves. So they didn't need you at all, which may, bruise your ego a little bit, but they didn't need you at all. They just needed someone. They just needed something to help them and be that stepping stone for them and be that support for them. And it brings me to this question, especially around the 13th when Jupiter enters Pisces. I want you to think about this. All those people who said they needed you, right? Where were you when you needed them? That's it. Anyone who makes you feel guilty, anyone who doesn't want you to go down this road, anyone who's been looking at you for months now, choosing yourself and thinking, well, what about me? What about me? And they decide to come to you in May and say, well, what about me? Look back and think about how many times you needed someone and they didn't reach out to you and they weren't there for you. And maybe you did even reach out and they still weren't there for you, let alone just come to you and say, hey, I can tell that you need some help. I can tell that you need time. What if you actually did reach out to them and they still weren't there for you? How many people fit into that category? Because those are the people that want your attention and want your time the most. The ones who have used you. Those are the people that expose themselves. Those are the people that at the beginning here you figured out they're not worth it and I really want to say something, but you decided not to because you wanted to keep the peace, you wanted to keep the family together, you want to keep the relationship together, you want to keep the job environment copacetic. By the end of May, that sentiment changes. After the eclipse, you're like, yeah, I was right. You're not it. I'm not doing this. And unlike some of us, Geminis, who can say that and then 2 days later be like, okay, sorry, let's just do it. When you say you're not it, you mean you're not it. Like, I'm washing my hands of this. I'm done with this. I have to keep choosing myself. We knew that when you chose yourself months ago that there would be backlash. There has been backlash. But I'll tell you something. All those people have been waiting for you to crack. They've been waiting for you to get off this high. They've been waiting for you to lose your motivation so we could get back to our regularly scheduled programming. But you don't do it. They've been watching the clock. You're still choosing yourself. It's going on month like 4 or 5 now. And they're very confused because they were absolutely sure that you were on your way back. So the pushback that you get is an accumulation of all that time that they've been waiting for you to come to your senses. And now they're starting to realize, and you realize at the eclipse, you're just different now. There is no going back to who you used to be because that person isn't there anymore. They don't exist anymore, right? You've chosen yourself consistently. You've worked on your own thing consistently so much that the BS that they've been pulling on you for how long and however long it's been working for, it's just not working. The time clock has run out. Anyone who's been watching, anyone who's been waiting to just get back in, they've been waiting so long that they start to crack. So now you're going to see people's pent up aggression towards you, their pent up frustration. Why won't you just let me back in? And you know what? You could let them back in. I mean, if you like this, you like it. If you like it, I love it. But you don't. You never did. You were probably stuck there not because you had these deep feelings, but because you compartmentalized it and put it away and went on with your life, but it was still there, seething, untreated, right? Festering. So what to the other person, the job, the friend, seems like unresolved business is actually a festering wound for you. So there's no commonality here between the two experiences. There's nothing that they can come and tell you that's going to make it make sense to you. And you're going to have this empathetic moment that you always end up having and taking people back in, forgiving them, understanding their situation more than you care about your situation. All the things you've done before, they just don't work. So you have a bunch of people running around you now thinking, why doesn't my bag of tricks work? What can I use next? And when everything is gone from that bag of tricks and all that's left is pity, that's when you have to be really careful. It's like your final battle, right? This is what you do when that battle comes to you. How long have you pitied others instead of respecting yourself? How long have you moved out of a sense of pity for another person's situation instead of moving in a direction that brought you happiness? How long have you dictated your actions based on the inadequacies of others and how far and how fast they can run? Because a lot of times we get confused with Capricorns. Oh yeah, you just want to get to the top. Oh yeah, you're just ambitious. Okay, but if I was so ambitious and I just wanted to get to the top all the time, why am I always the one stopping on my journey to help you up, waiting until you can catch up with me? If I'm the one who's so ambitious, if I'm the one that doesn't care, if I'm the one who's just trying to get where I'm going, why am I always the one standing, waiting for you to catch up when everyone else leaves? And now you're mad that I'm not waiting for you. Communicate it. By the end of the month, you have to say something. You don't now, but by the end of the month, you're like, no, I'm going to tell it to you straight, perhaps a little too straight, perhaps to the point where it makes some people's worlds fall apart because they have to finally admit to themselves that they're not catching up and you have to stop and wait for them because they're inadequate. It's not about you. It's not your fault that you won't slow down for them. It's their fault for not being able to keep up with you. As soon as you allow people that realization that they're inadequate to be in your life, things start to get lighter and easier. This is that major final blow that they need to understand, to stop trying to hook you in to something toxic. After this, it's like freedom. You just let go. If your tower is going to fall apart unless I keep it together, then your tower needs to fall apart. Sorry. Like, I'm not here to be your mason. I'm not here to build your tower or maintain your tower. Meanwhile, if I have any sort of problem with my castle, oh, right, you're nowhere to be found because you're always having your tower moment. The only time you're not having a tower moment is when I'm cleaning up your mess. So go ahead and keep having those tower moments and I'll keep building a fortress. It's complicated, but it's powerful. It's painful realizations, but they're leading you every step higher and higher and higher. And please don't stop to wait for anyone, because the truth of the matter is they don't even belong up there. And I've said this to you before. How can you take someone to the top of the mountain that can't even breathe that air? How long are you going to stay at a low altitude because the people that have attached themselves to you can breathe down here? You know you can breathe up here. You're well aware. The 26th, the eclipse is like, what are we waiting for? The best thing that you could do is climb up so high that these people who are breathing down here and can't get up there, the best thing you can do is go up there and get away from them. That's the best way to get away from them, is just to keep excelling, keep achieving, and not look back. If you can do that, if you can not get trapped in the empathy trap, if you can not get trapped in the pity ploy, you win. Or let me say, you continue to win. And you've gotten used to winning. So I think this time you'll actually do it. Cut those cords, cut those ties, allow yourself that compounded success that you've wanted for so long, but every time you started to make progress, some emotional hurdle or some emotional idiot would pull you back. This time, there's no going back. This time, there's no stopping. This time, you go up, up, up. And if you need to be harsh, and if you need to tell people the truth because nobody else will, and that makes their towers fall apart, so be it. More bricks for your fortress. That's all. Let's look at these cards. Hi, Capricorn. Welcome to the second part of your reading. So let's look at those first two cards there. Page of Pentacles, Nine of Swords. You know, part of the reason you're in your feels is because when you give someone the benefit of the doubt, when you love them despite their failings, when you overlook things that you honestly shouldn't, then it becomes very clear. It becomes even that much more clear that they're not on your side. When not only can they not hold up their end of the bargain or be equal to you, but in fact, they start telling you that maybe you're not enough for them. Maybe you're not what they want anymore. Maybe they're in a phase. Maybe there's a million excuses they can make. But what it does is it makes you feel really diminished. And you have two choices here. You can ignore it or hope it'll go away, or you can address it. At some point in the next 20 to 25 days, you're going to address it. And you're going to address it for the sanctity and stability of your home, or for the mere fact that you want to defend your own happiness. Now, you may not be saying, please stay with me, or please get out of this phase, or please don't do this. You could just as easily be saying, you know what? I've given you as much as I can give you. I need you to get out. Or I can't be friends with you anymore. Or I get that for a lot of you, what it is you're finally waking up to someone who's diminished you quite some, perhaps for a long time. And either it's been hidden by the veil of family or by the veil of joking, but you know what's been going on and you know how you've been feeling and you haven't said anything. But now, as of the 10th, you're saying it. You're saying it at some point in the next 20, 25 days. And it's because you've finally gotten to the point where you realize that this Four of Wands is worth protecting. Whether this person wants to be a part of that emotional stability or not, you and your emotional stability are worth protecting. So that leads us to the Chariot. For a lot of you, this work that you're doing, this path that you're on, that you're roaring down now, the only thing missing from this really lively, fulfilling new life is a partner. And it's because you may still be hanging on to some pretty destructive templates of what it means to be with someone. Past experiences, other people's experiences, they may have set the tone in a way where you're just kind of like, I'm happy where I am. I'm happy doing what I'm doing. I don't need to add this added element. I don't need to add this element to my life and create more stress. I don't see the point. But then here comes this Ace of Cups. And while you're roaring down this chariot road, someone just, shows up. And it looks like they show up in the context of work, just astrologically. It looks like they show up while you're going about your business. The cool thing about this is they meet you on the go. They meet you when you're at your top most, right? They meet you at your height. And it's very satisfying because that's what they know of you now. So it's not like when you go into work mode, they're going to be upset or feel neglected or hurt. This is how they've gotten to know you. This is what they know of you. So it's very positive in that the face that you're showing up with is your best self. This love or this big opportunity or this new friendship is something that elevates you. It makes you reach further. It inspires you to look out beyond what you've been doing so far. And you've been doing a lot. But there is here somewhere around the 26th at the eclipse, there is this epiphany where you realize you can take it much bigger. You can expand this horizon now in a way that I don't think until now you have seen to be possible. So a lot of times what Capricorns will do is they'll see what everybody else has done and then be like, I can do that better. I can do it classier. I can do it faster. I can perfect this. But there's an interesting thing happening now. As you're on this road of perfecting the thing, this completely new, innovative idea just springs itself on you. And the funny thing about ideas is, and you may have realized this already throughout your life, is that it only stays with people but for so long. And if you don't utilize it, if you don't do anything with it, it moves on to somebody else who maybe will do something with it. So when this idea strikes you around the 26th, don't see it as this calamitous event, even though it might shake things up a little in terms of how you're proceeding so far. But realize that this new turn is something that takes your business, takes your side hustle, takes your dream career, and gives it this really expansive reach. You're going to have to scale up, is what I'm saying. Now, you also realize on the 26th where you've been perpetually stuck in this tower moment. There is some area of your life that fell apart so brutally or has continued to fall apart in such a brutal fashion that emotionally you've been hooked into it and you've been stuck there for quite some time. On the 26th, you figure out exactly where your feelings are tangled up, and that King of Swords, you are that. And that sword swings swiftly and cuts those cords. Right when you're supposed to let go, right when you prep yourself for that letting go, all this new work comes in and distracts you, and you can go from cutting these really toxic cords straight into doing more work, not skipping a beat. Okay? And new opportunities start to come in. You feel so much lighter after this is done. You feel new and renewed and younger and more fit and more lively and more inspired, more excited. It's all the things that you thought would happen when you started this work. But it was only after you started the work that you could really see where the holdup was. On the 13th, when Jupiter enters Pisces, you're going to want to communicate, especially about work. Just keep it chill. Communicate, of course. But Jupiter has a tendency to expand things in a way that can be almost cringe, right? So you just want to pare it down a little. Be cool, be cool. Correspondence, of course. Yes, we're networking. Yes, we're sending messages. Yes, but we're just being cool about it. Excuse me. Right after the eclipse, it's going to be time to rest, because you will have done a lot in a very short amount of time. And you need to rest, because if you don't and you keep chasing that power, chasing that paper, when you start to run into delays because of Saturn retrograde, because of Mercury retrograde, you're going to want to push through them and you can't. And then the eclipse happens and you're exhausted. So it's like, there's just so much. There's only so much you can do before the universe is going to tell you to sit down and take a rest. And to be perfectly honest, you haven't really rested for 6 months, maybe even a year, some of you. And now you need that deep restorative rest, you know, a couple of days where you do just nothing. You don't think about anything. You don't do anything. You don't fulfill any of your obligations. You, in fact, cancel anything in those days. So you don't even feel like you're letting anyone down. You give yourself some time and space to just be and enjoy what you've done so far. Because the thing is, Capricorn, when you don't take a second to acknowledge what you've done and how far you've come every now and then, if you don't do this, you may not realize it yourself, but you lose motivation. So the way I've set this up in my life is that I have this formula. When I make X amount of money, every time I make X amount of money, I spend Y amount of money on myself. Right? And you can put whatever variables you want in there. But it's a way for me to stay motivated. And I don't spend it on something I need. I don't spend it on something practical or pragmatic. I spend it on something I really want that's completely superfluous. It's unnecessary. But what it does is it gives me this reward for having done the hard work. And it keeps me motivated. Because let's be honest, even if you love what you do, even if you're absolutely head over heels passionate about your career, you still need a little bit of a carrot sometimes, you know? Can't always be the stick. So, there it is, Capricorn. And I'll leave you with this. If you are in your feelings because you feel abandoned, you feel betrayed, you've got to realize that people, and I know you've heard this a million times before, and perhaps it doesn't land very well, but people never do things because of you. In fact, sometimes people do things in spite of you, right? So whatever they're telling you now that they can or cannot do, however they want to change things up, no matter how much they try to imply that it's your fault, just remain very solid in the knowledge that it has nothing to do with you at all. It's their own cowardice, it's their own inadequacy, it's their own lack of responsibility, it's their own lack of self-respect. Because you know that if you were in that situation, you know how you'd handle it. You could be having the same exact emotions as this person, but you would never handle it this way because you have an enormous amount of self-respect. Take some solace in that. I love you, love you. We're going to get into the extended right now, and we'll go through every card, and we'll go through the whole deck and figure out how each sign relates to you. That extended reading is available on Vimeo, or it is available on Patreon under the Capricorn tier or the Capricorn plus the Za tier. Now, if you don't know what the Za is, every other day on Instagram, we do a walking meditation where we jump. We take our consciousness and we jump through dimensions to where we want to go. It sounds pretty crazy, but declassified CIA documents back me up here. So try it out one day. Come over to @AmberCon and try it out and tell me what you think. Those walks are recorded. It is a walking meditation and a workout. So it's motivation, it's meditation, it's all the things. And those are also put on Patreon. So they're generally about 2.5 hours long. So Capricorn plus the Za, you would be getting those walks as well as your Capricorn early reading, which was up a few days ago on Patreon. This part and the extended and all the walks, which is a lot of them. All right. Also, if you're interested in a personal reading, there's a Cameo link below. And if you've been looking at these beautiful rings, this is the Empress and this is the World. The World is going up for pre-sale next week, and the Empress is available for sale now. And actually the smaller sizes are going to be available next week as well. That link is below. Last but not least, if you are interested in a look at the astrological transits of the day and how they apply to your sun, moon, rising, come on over and join the Rev Fam on Instagram at The Quietest Revolution, where we do a daily horoscope and a look at the daily chart. All right. Love you. I'll see you in the extended right now.